Hey guys, so Blake's last fan of the night.
Blake's last fan of the night.
What do we have here, Blake?
This is a 1985, which we just learned, Victorian limited edition. So it's a unipack version that came out around the time of the fan, 80s, mid 80s. But the the few things about it that are unique that I personally love. This is the only Victorian, at least that I know of. I don't know if you guys know of any others that have the stubbier switch housing, where it's a little bit shorter, not as deep as the common ones you saw in the early Casablancas and the ones that have pull chains and whatnot. So that's something I'm personally drawn to because that's my preferred style of the two, mostly common in the IT fans. And then the other thing, actually there's three things that are unique. The other thing is the finish is what's called a weathered bright brass, I believe, or weathered polished brass. I've never seen this finish on any other
If you know Fastco's, it's a lot like Corsican brass.
Was that the same one that was on the Thomas Hugger you had?
Yeah. That finish.
Or like the burnished brass that's on a lot of the Hunter stuff. It's just somewhere between a bright brass and an antique brass.
Yeah. It's smack
really,
dab between polished and antique brass.
Yeah. Really. And it's a beautiful finish. Also, the blades are really unique. It's definitely gotten a lot of attention since it's been here. It's got that nice high gloss luster to it. But then the glass, all of it is like factory. So that's the way that it came in the catalog and from the showroom. So everything about it's pretty beautiful, and I'm glad I was able to pick it up today.
Yeah, this is a good find for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Victorians. I just put one up in my room the other day. So mine's a slumber quiet and antique brass, but I mean, same concept really. So
cool.
Okay, so an interesting thing about this video is even though we do have, did it came with a W11 or a W12?
It came with a W11.
Yeah, this is the old one, W11.
W11.
Yeah.
So even though Blake has the control for this fan, since this has flick mode, we're going to use flick mode to do the test for this video, and Rick is going to demonstrate flick mode. By the way, if anybody replies in that group chat and reminds us how to do reverse flick mode, let me know.
I got my eye on it because I'm in it.
There's definitely a way to reverse it. As far as I know, the only function you don't get doing flick mode is you can't dim the lights. I'm pretty sure you cannot dim the lights. I mean, that would...
Which, you don't have... I mean, you don't have LEDs or dimmable bulbs.
No,
they're incandescent.
They would dim fine, actually.
Right.
That's why anyway, so let's turn it off. First thing when you do is just the light.
So...
Then that's locking it in with the light, and flick it one more time, turns the light off. So this is low speed with the light off.
He's just using the high switch. So this is how you can control it with a regular wall switch.
A regular old on-off light switch, you have pretty much full control of the fan, which I think is really cool.
Which was only on models through, would you guys just say?
About 1986.
86.
Whenever they switched to the newer board.
Yeah, why that wasn't a thing after. It's a question I'd love
and they
to
put a
ask
bunch
Tom,
of useless features on.
Ed Hart would be the person to ask.
They put a bunch of
or
useless
David, the guy that's in California I met recently.
So, okay, so let's see. We're going to do the...
0.22, and it's going to be power factor 1.
Like, I'm going to give you these before I forget.
Oh, yeah.
You definitely want your remote.
Call.
Yeah. It's up to you whether you want to bother to attack the lower speeds.
Probably just high.
Okay.
So I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to turn it all the way back off and go through it again. I don't know if there's a way you can just bump the speed up. That okay, yeah, that does turn it back off. So I gotta let it reset. Okay, there's speed 2. Nice and silent. Good
it's one of the quietest bands we've run.
Yeah.
No kidding, yeah.
I mean, it's to be expected. It's got a rubber flywheel and a rubber ball and a K55.
Yep.
Right. Well, I mean, being the oldest fan, I think we've tested tonight too.
Are we sure it has a K55 and not a Asterson?
Oh, I still count those as K55,
okay,
but yeah, I don't know. I
might have an Asterson being this era.
There's usually where you can tell them at the bottom. Yeah, I can't really see well moving.
Okay.
Matt just replied to the group chat. He says light on or off is flicking power on and off, which I guess we already knew.
Yeah, we knew that.
We figured that out.
What do you want me to say? I mean,
just ask him if he knows about reverse.
Reverse is the only one I'm not sure about right now. That might have something to do with letting it get up to high and then doing something. I feel like that might have been what it was. So this is speed 3.
Got it.
Nice backed off medium.
Yeah. Boy, it's kind of full circle because like DCs all have 6 speeds now, and this was the kind of pioneer of 6 speed. And
I was gonna say one of my favorite things about IT is having the 6 speeds. Like,
yeah,
that was really
for
nice.
sure.
I wonder who did the first 6-speed DC control.
Well, I know Fanimation was very early to the game. I think that they came out with them in.
How many speeds did the Super Fan have?
Which fan?
Infinite.
That was Infinite? The
Infinite.
Super Fan? Okay.
Yeah.
Which is the Super Fan?
It's a Homestead's DC motor fan from the 80s.
Oh.
They were talk about ahead of its time. That was
Yeah.
Well, the irony is they offered that technology to Casablanca and they passed.
Whoops.
Well, no, I think it was the smart because how failure prone they were.
Yeah. Well, it's just ironic that now it's
Yeah.
going that way. But yeah, at that time.
I actually didn't even know they had DCs back then.
Oh yeah, GE had made this DC motor.
That one I knew, the antique. But that was
No, I'm talking about this is in the 80s.
Oh, in the 80s, wow.
And that could be controlled from a wall control the same way like IntelliTouch where it's just using your wall as the signal.
Mm-hmm.
And they offered it to Casablanca, they passed, and that's actually why Casablanca came up with IntelliTouch because they wanted to beat them to the market with something that was more reliable, and they did.
Yeah.
But then Homestead ended up biting on that. But Homestead didn't have an exclusivity clause, so then they sold it to like Key Largo and a few American Industries and a few other companies. I have a whole workbench video about it.
Okay. Yeah,
But
All right, so we're up to speed 4.
the reason I asked about that is because I'd be willing to bet that the 6 speeds was a Tom thing.
maybe, yeah. Again,
That does
something
seem
I
like it
definitely
would
wanna
have
ask
been,
Tom.
yeah, because I know the speed range was important for Casablancas especially.
Yeah.
Well, you guys know about the DC speed range on Fanimation's DC, right? It's like at some random number, like 31.
31, and
Yeah.
it's basically variable. At that
It
point.
is. They just had to. I think probably for like energy code reasons, they had to put some number toward it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is speed 4, pretty much a standard medium.
That's moving as much air as the last fan we tested.
Okay.
High, yeah.
High, yeah.
No kidding.
All right.
And there's no wobble and it's quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because the reason why Casablancas all had to have an aesthetic low is because they started out making fans that only were aesthetic.
Right.
The belt fans and the early gear-driven fans, and so it was important.
That all harkened back to that.
And so it was important to both Burton and Tom that all the Casablancas had what we would call an aesthetic low or an atmospheric low.
Mm-hmm.
So even their 3-speed fans have a relatively slow low.
Makes sense.
So this is speed 5, and it feels like high speed on most other fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how it's gonna blow on high.
It's blasting
Or
high.
6. Yeah. No, that would make sense, Dan. Like if you had like a group install where you had the belt-driven fans with the non-belt ones.
Yeah.
You wanted to kind of match speeds.
Yep. Because that's exactly what the New Orleans and the Victorian were supposed to be, was like you could have a standalone with your belt fan system.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Like-
New Orleans was not belt-driven. That was
No, I'm saying you would have your Bourbon Streets, and then you would buy a New Orleans and a Victorian to have to match with them.
I see what you're saying.
Just like what you could have with the palm leaf blade version, then you'd buy an Islander and a Palisade.
All right, that is some serious airflow.
What is the what's the Palmetto again?
the Palmetto is the one that's like not wall mounted, but it's like a horizontal bar.
I thought that was the Punka.
No, the Punka is the one that's the wall mounted one. The Palmetto is the one that like Cheddar's had a whole bunch of.
813.
You know which?
Yeah.
The Cheddar's installs. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's gonna be like
Palmetto.
204 or 203
Yeah.
or something like that. Which I think's about right.
Yep, 203.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I feel
That's
like
yeah.
a graph.
That shit is.
It's a little cold.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You know, the one thing honestly that I wish this was oddly enough a 5-blade.
Oh no, I like it as the
You
Punka.
like it?
Yeah, I definitely like 4 better.
Yeah.
Well, I think what
464.
throws me off. I mean, I do like it
570.
before, but it's the shorter switch housing is more modern and 5 blades.
It's really not. 8400, which is the high end of the KV5 category. Again, you got to look at the very first Victorian. Here, tell you what. Here, I'm gonna Let me while you guys are doing things.
Yeah. Are you talking about the Belter one?
Yeah. We'll get one. We got one in the other room.
Yeah. I got a copper one back home.
Yeah. Well, then you should know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You guys should pay
You know-
attention to this really nice Victorian.
Well, Dan's got, I guess, another nice one to show me. So, yeah, no, this isn't going to be a good spin bag too.
Oh yeah, it might be a while.
I saw a white and brass one in there, Dan. FYI.
I was looking out here. I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Victorians, I think 4 blades always, even with the switch housing. I just think Victorians look weird with 5 to me.
You know what it is for me? It's more just I saw more 5 oddly.
Yeah, I did
than
too.
4.
I did too,
So I'm
honestly.
just used to it. I just, you know what it is. I think I still like it better with 4. I'd just be interested in seeing it with 5.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that'd be easy. You could swap the flywheel if you wanted to do 5.
yeah, and I have that second one that I got that didn't have blades. It has blade arms, but not blades. I
just find another blade, even
Exactly.
just for temporary testing.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I don't know if you knew that. I
Actually,
just put
one
up
in
an
here.
antique brass Victorian in my room.
That's funny. Yeah.
The lighted housing, the like kind of Menards tier lighted housing fan had like a 2-year run, which for my apartment is a long freaking time.
Yeah. What?
Nothing went
Era.
wrong with. Oh, it's a mid '80s, a spinner motor. It looks like a just.
Should've
It
brought
like
that.
that thing,
Uh-huh.
except lighted housing, basically.
The Victorian. Sorry, I was.
Oh,
curious
the
what-
Victorian's '83, I want to say, and
wow.
it's slumber quiet, and the slumber quiet works.
Gotcha. So those have the cat eye arms, or
It would have. I actually switched them to pretzels because I like pretzels better on these.
yeah, sure.
And the blades, its original blades were oak stencil, but they were kind of faded, so I actually put a different set on. That's I think
I
they're
should have just
actually.
brought the one from the other room. I thought there was
They're
one
moss.
here.
It's okay. I visually know what you're referring to, and
Yeah, it's basically
Okay,
that
well,
switch housing on the.
you're right. Yeah. Yeah,
let
for
me
sure.
tick one thing. Let me do the thing I think might be reversed, but I'm not 100% sure it'll work. So we've gone through all the speeds.
Oh, let me see if Matt replied before we do that. Let's see. Reverse is flicking on and off 2 times, if that makes sense. Off, on, off, on. That's what Matt said.
Oh,
Yep.
yep, you're right. That'll do it. Okay, so here's how reverse.
I knew somebody in that group chat would know.
Something
Yep.
to figure out.
And this is also our 0 to high. 0.93 is the high, so let's see how far it drops.
Ooh, a lot wobblier in reverse.
That happens.
Wow. So it's the backwards of the
Yeah.
green bearded thing.
So it's
Yeah. Okay.
well, what did it draw on high forward?
I don't know.
I think it's no inrush.
That seems right.
Still moving a lot of air in reverse. Still chilly.
A little chilly, yeah, okay.
That's weird. I don't know if the draft is coming towards you guys. It's not as bad over here.
Oh, it's pretty strong right where I am. So we're doing a Rick test.
No, I was gonna go through the reverse speed.
Oh, that's fair.
So we can't do any of the other tests.
No,
Okay, I figured.
but we couldn't if we had the IT control either.
Right.
Because I mean, we could try, but we run the risk of frying the board.
Yeah.
So that's speed 5. One. There's speed 4 in reverse. I figure we'll go through everything since we can't
Sure.
do like regular test rig on this one.
I'm fine with it. This is a classy enough fan to.
Yeah. I feel like you usually have worse wobbling issues in reverse if
Yes.
there isn't any difference. So the fact that the other one was opposite is actually kind of unusual. Alright.
Are you going in reverse order of the
Yeah, I'm
speeds?
just going down since we started with high. I'm just going
Nice.
back down to 1. Okay. I'm glad I've gotten an exercise in flick mode because it's been a minute. Take that out. There's speed 2. You know what sucks is that, so do you remember in the hotel there's that one Zephyr in the banquet room that goes into flick mode?
Yeah.
Oh.
I thought I could fake it into working into like actual speeds, but it's like partially still registering that that's an IT control,
Oh.
even though it's bad.
I gotcha.
So it's just a fucky mess. I was hoping I could just treat that like an on-off switch and I could actually get speeds out of
Why don't
it.
we just change
that-
out that control?
Is that the
could.
only Zephyr that's installed in there? Because
That's in that banquet room, yeah. Well, there's plenty of Zephyrs in the hallways, but that and the interesting thing about that and Zephyr, that's the only one I've ever seen work there. Like it's the only IT Zephyr in that whole place.
Even
I've ever seen.
though how many?
There's
okay,
a
so
bunch in the hallways that we can't find the
There's
controls.
4 of them in the hallway, and then there's one in the skylight past.
And there's also one over that bar too.
Over the right. That's the 4th one I was thinking of. Yeah. There's also the one in the nightclub next to the Panama that has the water damage, right?
That one actually is another Panama, but it has separate parts on it,
Oh, okay, yeah.
which doesn't surprise me. What it looks like is that their first round of replacement fans is they replaced motors only, use the Zephyr parts, and then when they did a second round later, they just replaced the whole fan with the Panama.
Got it.
It seems to be what they did.
Yeah.
So here's your lower.
I wonder if they were getting water damage that earlier. It could have also been balloons since it was a nightclub.
Who knows? Yeah, I feel like it
Water
might be
balloons? Like, how would the water?
No,
regular balloons.
Regular
He's
balloons.
saying- he's
That's
saying
why they
water
replaced the
damage
fans.
Or balloons.
Yeah.
Separate things.
To replace, because there's fans that clearly have the water damage.
yeah, we know there was water damage eventually, but why were they replacing them so early? Was there having water damage that earlier?
IT problems.
Yeah, I would imagine that.
So-
That's true. All it takes is a good lightning strike.
That's true.
Other than the kitchen that has the Daytons that are not removed, is that the only other fans?
There's fans in the pool area.
Well, I saw those. Because I went during the day, I could see that one brass Panama like way in the back corner.
Of the pool?
Yeah.
Then there's also some other fans in there, and then there's coastal breezes in the hallway by the pool.
Mm-hmm.
But which we got a brief look at those.
Until we heard a noise that freaked us all out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess this is our Rick test. I put it to low,
Oh yeah.
slowest I can with the light on.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, this is
That's
probably
sexy.
This is probably the most Rick fan we've tested today. I think
Yeah.
It's my favorite too, I think.
that's a real nice.
And
Fan.
you didn't want to put this one up, right?
No.
Yeah.
Because we've already tested a bunch
I
of
get it
Victorians.
from a video perspective. It's redundant compared to the others, but at
Yeah.
the same time, this is a cool ass fan either way.
Yeah.
I'm glad I tested it.
It's a Victorian for sure, but it's probably the most unique Victorian I've ever seen in terms of
I don't hate the stubby
Finish
switch
and-
housing as much as I would have thought. I mean, I still prefer the longer one on Victorians, but it doesn't look bad.
I think the the big light kit
That helps,
balances
yeah,
it out.
it
Yeah,
does.
it would almost look weirder if it didn't have if it had.
I was
the
gonna say,
longer-
like, my favorite Victorians are like the early ones, like Belt Drive, K63, etc.
Right.
This is my favorite Victorian variation that is not that has hang true.
Oh, okay.
I would take this variation, small switch housing, this light kit, 4 blades, pretzel irons, probably these exact blades. The only thing I would swap the blades for is if there was a cane or stencil option, but then you might lose the gloss. They did do high gloss cane. But yeah, this is my favorite Victorian variation that is hang true. Normally, I would take this over like a hang true slumber quiet, hang true with the big switch housing, hang true 4.5. But I wouldn't take it over the Bell Canopy version, whether it's Bell Canopy and Slumber Quiet, Bell Canopy and K63, or Bell Canopy and Belt Drive.
Makes sense.
But this combination just works. Like, you could picture this in like somebody's rich paneled office or den, or like a bunch of them in a really classy restaurant. Like, it's just a
I
This would
get
be-
Ruby Tuesdays vibes a little bit.
Ruby Tuesdays is a little bit. They had cheaper shit than this though in a lot of theirs.
Yeah.
Matt Cody swore ours had Zephyrs. The
Really?
one in
Zephyrs are still a step down from this
But
though.
yeah, but
The one here had spinner motor hunters, so
Okay.
Yeah, this would look badass. I mean, like, just a large install of these would look amazing in pretty much any setting. But
yeah.
this would look. Do you guys know of the Main Street Hotel in Vegas that has all the
Yes,
Victorians?
yes.
I think
Yeah,
Ryan
yeah.
recently went there.
Pete's been there.
Oh, okay. I'm going to Vegas for a trade show in a few weeks, so I've never been. I've just seen the
Definitely
pictures.
check that out.
Same.
If they
They're
had-
5-blade, I think, right?
They are, and,
Yeah.
and bright brass and all that.
Mhm.
If they had all of these, man, like,
That would be
they,
great.
They
For
have,
sure,
I think,
yeah.
like that illuminated. I think there's the stained glass or like something with
Lighted
the lighting.
ceiling
Yeah,
or
lighted
something,
ceiling.
yeah.
Yeah, this would just look.
The other thing I'm
awesome
just
on that.
noticing now that we have the light on by itself, it throws a lot of light down.
Yes. It
because of
does.
the shade, so it actually is quite useful.
It actually
Yes.
like would work as a primary light
Yes.
source in the room.
It's be
Yeah.
great. Yeah, these are really useful.
When I first moved into my current house, I had the World's Fair in the foyer. I used these shades on it,
Those
and it
shades.
worked pretty well.
Yeah, no, they're solid for sure.
Yeah, I like the shades a lot. In fact, I have several of these shades still in use in my house.
So yeah, this is obviously avocado appliance. I definitely like Victorians. One of my favorite Casablancas.
Yeah.
And this is a really cool version. So
I'm assuming that this is the Organ Stop pizza.
Oh
Organ
yeah,
Fiber
yeah.
pizza.
I mean, this was like I wouldn't necessarily put it as low organ stop pizza, but putting this up and seeing it running and all the above. I mean, this could easily go down as like one of the top 5 fans I've collected, like in terms of being my favorite. Yeah, it's pretty good.
is this going up in your house somewhere? Oh,
Not in
it's
my
too
house.
little too dated for your house.
I know.
You gotta have one room in your house that's the Malaise room or the vintage room, and it should be like your office, and you should get some real rich wood paneling and do like a CEO's office, because people still do that.
I know. Yeah.
Have a banker's lamp on your desk.
I gotta think about that. I mean, I have a theme going everywhere. I gotta make it all work. But
I mean, admittedly,
it's
I don't. That would
thought.
be like saying I have to have a room that's like all gray and matte black somewhere, which that never.
Not really, because it's still doing something that goes with modern. Like that would be the equivalent of saying he has to have a room with fake wood paneling and a friction drive. You know, that would be the equivalent for him.
Yeah.
But it's not. Yeah, the people still build those CEO offices. They're still in style.
The thing is, it's not very insulated, and like I just wouldn't trust it to be in this location, just because like I want to keep this fan in the best shape possible. But I do have this shed in the back that is, I mean, like it's for down the road. It would be a she shed if I have a man cave, which is my my fan cave, man cave, garage thing. But if I had like a temporary time with the space to do my own thing, I'd totally, because I have a spot for a fan in there now, and I have like some DC newer Minka thing, but
throw up something like
it needs to be standalone. Like it needs to be a single install like this, and I mean I just would love to see it for a minute, but I don't know if I'd be able to leave it up there for more than a couple weeks and feel comfortable that it's not going to get like some sort of weather damage. But yeah, I love it. What about you, Dan?
I'd put it on the line between Quick Trip and Menards, because I don't think my Menards category is generally stuff I would pay to have shipped, stuff that I would pay a decent amount for, and even though I know this has value, like
there's some collectors that would pay a lot of money.
Even though I know this has value, I don't think I would pay hundreds of dollars for one of these. It's just not a priority for me.
Right.
But if one was local for $50, I would probably grab it. And normally my Quick Trip category is would I grab it locally for like $20. So it's
I'd pick this up at a restore, I would say.
Absolutely, yeah. I wouldn't leave it behind at a restore for sure. I'd get it for the glass and alone. I also really like the light kit. Like that light kit would look good on any.
It is.
Yeah.
How does it show up in the video? Is it?
The light's a little bright, so you
dim
can't.
it though,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it looked a little better when it was with all the lights on and not
As far as I can tell, I think the light dimming is the only function you can't get with flick mode. Everything.
Well, let's just talk about like safe mode and all that kind of stuff.
All the useless
Light
stuff.
minder
Yeah,
and
useless
yeah.
stuff, but
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why I was kind of like, to me, this is actually useful because you could lose the control. Then they give you all these other like crazy things that are neat, but this should have.
So here's my question. Let's say all the fans in the Mullet Hotel banquet room are flick mode. I know they're not, but let's just say they are.
Yeah.
Could you have them all on one switch and then just use one switch to control 8 fans or whatever it is?
It depends,
'Cause
because what I think would happen is they all react, even if there was a tiny difference in how quickly it reacted. There were a couple times where like I had to do it an extra time, and that might register with some of them, and you'd get them off kilter if that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But in theory, yes, you could. I mean, if you were diligent about the.
Okay.
But the other thing is, a lot of those Panama motors don't even have flick mode.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking, could you use flick mode on multiple fans? Because that's the downside to IT is you need a control for each fan.
True. That is true.
So, which has got to be like the control panels for that Vegas place has got to be crazy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know if the videos that
Ryan
posted. I don't know if he actually was changing speeds on them. I thought he maybe was, meaning that he maybe talked to the hotel and like found controls. But if I'm there and they're easily accessible, I'd love to see that too.
I'm sure if you asked the right person, they'd show you.
Yeah, I mean, just gotta ask nicely, and usually people will help.
Yeah, hey, I work in the fan and lighting industry.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'll throw Tom's name out, being like, "Hey, I know the guy that built this."
Yeah.
It's kind of more nostalgic, and people find it cool.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming and visiting us, Blake, and bringing us some fans.
You're welcome.
And I know that you'll be back as soon as allows.
Mm-hmm.
And anything else you want to say before we wrap up? Rick and I may or may not do some more filming, but before you wrap up filming tonight, anything else you want to say here?
No, thank you for having me. It's always fun coming out here. I think I'd prefer to be in the cold like we are now versus the heat that we were in August last year, but Definitely always a pleasure being here at the barn.
Yeah, this is the fall and spring are the best at the barn because it's not too cold and not too hot.
Although, I don't know if you saw, we do have
air conditioners finally. Yeah,
Nice.
Rick
Okay.
conditioners.
And I'm gonna move that other one over here, so we have two right here.
So Animation 2026 will be like actually tolerable then.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
In here at least, yeah.
There goes Steve's electric bill.
You know what?
Do you pay a flat rate for utilities?
Yeah. No, I don't pay for utilities at all.
It's just included, but I think he got his rate increased once he realized the scale of how much power is being used.
Well, I mean, all the fans.
I honestly don't think it's us because it's all 1 meter for all these buildings, and I honestly don't think it's us because there's people that are here working in their shops every day.
Yeah, you guys are here a couple times a
and
week
Pete and I are here once or twice a week for a couple hours. You know, so.
In total, that's pretty.
I did used to try leaving the heaters on when we weren't here just to keep, because we'd come in here and stuff would be frozen, like cleaning solutions and stuff like that would be frozen. And I used to try leaving the heaters on, and that was way too much electric usage.
Sure.
So, okay. Well, stay tuned for this word from our sponsors, and what else should they do?
Bye, Fanstick.
And Pedro's, and thanks for watching.
This video is brought to you by the following sponsors: Sandstick, Lightstick, Taco Burrito Mexico, Sperry, the beverage of fan collectors, The Good Manufacturing Company, 81220 LLC, where our motto is crunch, 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 rickorsheep.com, a fun game you can play with your friends. For more information, go to rickorsheep.com. Power Vacuum, the vacuum with more vacuums. Udong batteries. When I think of batteries, I think of Udong.
Major funding for this series is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the annual financial support of viewers like you.
Pedro's making Mexican. Pedro's making Mexican.